he's got a voice, and don't be insulted by this, but I think he's got a voice similar to Merle Haggard's, man, on that country stuff.
I listen to Merle Haggard for every day.
Is that right?
I do.
Every day.
Every day.
Well, he's one of my all-time favorite singers, him and Marty Robbins.
Oh, yeah.
Marty Robbins, too.
Oh, Marty Robbins is great, man. I worked a couple of shows that he was on, and he actually sounds better in person than he does on the records, and he sounds great on the records. He's one of the few singers that I heard, of all the many I've heard, it sounded really just like the record, but even better, his vocal.
In person.
I'm not talking about the band, I'm talking about because he's really a very talented
You talking about
man.
Marty or?
Marty.
Yeah.
I never worked in the shows that Merle was on. Never
How
did.
long did you play?
Well, I never did play. I was serious. No, I
Still
played.
recording?
Were you as wild as Jerry Lee?
Yeah, I played. Well, I played on Jerry's records from the first record up to about 1963. There was a couple on there I did, a couple of cuts on, but not all the singles.
Did you tour with him?
Yeah, I toured with him for about between 2 and right at 3 years. Yeah.
Did you go with him to England when, or
No,
Europe?
I didn't. Thank goodness.
What about during his wild days? Is that when you played with him?
He's not wild, is he?
He's still wild.
Yeah, but he
Jerry-
will. Now I'm talking about he don't stand up to play much anymore. I don't think.
No, yeah, he was wild as a performer, but as a person, he wasn't really that wild back in the early days.
Did you ever record?
I think later on when he got on some of the good stuff, he got a little wild.
Did you ever record with or work with Carl Perkins?
I've worked a lot of shows with Carl, but he played his own guitar. I never recorded.
I know he did.
Jerry Lee recorded with him. He recorded with him on Matchbox and Your True Love. And that's the two songs they were recording the day that they did that $1 Million Quartet thing.
Right.
Carl and Jerry was already there, and Sam called Johnny to come in for a photo op. So that's how that happened.
Where were you? Were you there?
I wasn't there.
Were you on any TV shows with Jerry Lee? Or
Yeah.
which ones?
Shindig?
No, not the Shindig. I don't think Shindig had even come along with
No,
us.
it would have been.
It was on the Dick Clark show. It was on Guy Mitchell's show. He used to have a TV show. You don't remember it. You're too young. And just different ones like that.
Steve Allen?
Yeah.
You were?
Not on the first one.
Right.
Well, from what I read Carl Perkins' book. They all wanted to fight Jerry Lee. Carl said he tried to get him to pull the car over. Well, they're going to settle it right there on the side of the road.
Wanted to fight with him?
Yeah.
Well, they got along real good, but I think, I'm not aware of that.
That's what he said.
But I know one time, I worked with Jerry a while and we got into it and I left and then I came back. During the time I left, he just worked a trio, piano, bass, and drums. And Jay Brown on bass and Russ Smith on drums. Now, Russ didn't play on the records. Jimmy Van Eaton played on the records. But I understand they were up in Canada doing a show up there. And Carl had just had an accident, where his brother got.
Right.
And so Jerry, he's like me and like a lot of musicians, all of them just about, I'd say. About 98% of them. Not you, of course. But he's a practical joker. So they had a bunch of firecrackers, like these cherry bombs and things, and they were in front of Carl. And they were throwing those things out on the road, and they'd go off just about the time his car got there. And I think they got into a little argument about that. I don't know how serious it was, but I think Jerry quit doing it. He probably didn't realize, that Carl was kind of shell-shocked at the time anyway, I would imagine.
Yeah, he probably was.
Yeah.
He was real. He liked to get killed 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Well, it could have. I never did have it. I know Russ Smith and Carl's brother, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Jay, both of them like to partake of the spirits.
They all drank like crazy.
Well, that's what I heard.
I'm about ready for a
But anyway,
I'm about ready for one myself.
Jay and Russ, they really took part, Russ had his trap case. He sat right beside him when he was playing. And he had something in there, and he was always drinking. Everybody thought he was drinking water. He wasn't regular. And Jay was really, really out of it.
Oh, yeah.
And they got in a fight in the dressing room one time. And they fought all over that dressing room, and they never did hit each other. Swinging. I mean, they were really out of it.
So you
We all
recorded,
laughed.
you recorded Unsung?
His son,
You did?
yeah. Sure did.
That's
You're
where
not gonna hold it
Jerry Lee
against me, are
recorded
you?
Great Balls of Fire and...
Yeah, a whole lot of shaking and,
When are you gonna write your book?
huh?
When are you gonna write your book?
When am I gonna write a book? I don't know that I ever will. If I do, it probably won't be much about music.
His Facebook update.
You,
Oh,
how
what
long
else
did you
you
play
gonna
with
do?
Billy
We have to
Lee?
befriend you on Facebook then.
I started with Billy, and I was working with Billy when we cut the record on Jury, and he had a hit, and he needed to go out on the road, and he asked Van Eaton and me to go on the road with him because we played on the records. And we did for just a short period of time. And then we went back and worked with Riley. Well, later on, I left Riley and worked with Bill Justice. We had a hit record called Raunchy as an
Oh, I
instrumental.
I remember that, yeah.
And I worked on the road with him quite a bit. And Roy Orbison worked at a lot of shows with Roy, and more different ones. And
Raunchy.
so, yeah,
I remember that.
yeah, it was a big record. So we were on a tour. I was working with Justice, and Bill and Jerry Lee was on the tour. So at the last night of the tour, they'd asked me 3 or 4 times if I'd come back and sit in with them. But the last night of the tour, and they were working a trio, remember, I sat in with them. It was Salt Lake City, and it sounded so good. And Jerry enjoyed having the guitar back there because that freed him from the piano. He could get up and do his thing. So they asked me if I'd go back to work with him, so I did.
What were you into it with Jerry about?
Oh, I don't want to get into that. That's going to be in my book.
I want
Wasn't
to get
nothing
your
serious,
autograph
though.
on something.
It
Me
wasn't
too.
nothing
Me
serious.
too.
I want to get your autograph
Me
on
too.
something.
Yep,
Um,
I'd like to.
We never got into a series. We never did. We always got along real good, really.
yeah, just do it on the front. Like that.
How about the CD that he's gonna cut? How about that?
Yeah.
Go ahead and pick the CD out, the case.
Y'all go eat with us.
I'm not hungry. I ate the day before yesterday.
Oh, my.
Autograph my CD case too when you do it.
Okay.
If you're not going to charge
If I
me the
remember
extra.
Get inside the guitar. Didn't carry a magic marker with you all the time.
I have a magic marker in my purse.
Chico's the one that carries the
Well.
magic marker.
Is that good enough? It's
Thank you.
Sign me one while you're at it. Why not?
What about mine? I asked
Can I
first.
use my pen?
Or you last in line.
Can I use this pen?
If you want to, yeah. Draw me a picture.
Did I get mine?
We gotta get out of here.
Okay. Is that good?
Oh,
Got
thank
2
you.
more.
Thank you so much. I
And
don't think,
I'll have a big head. I won't be able to get out of the building.
Yeah.
You want one?
Uh,
Are you from this Memphis area?
Am I?
okay.
I was born in Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
School.
Raised in St. Louis, Missouri.
Janes.
Yeah.
Oh, so you don't need it.
I do one more and we'll leave you alone.
Okay.
And if you can remember
You
it,
can make mine to Barbara, Dan's sister.
To Barbara?
Barbara,
Yeah,
that's me.
Barbara, B-A-R-B-A-R-A.
I'm Dan's sister. I'm the reason he loves music.
You are?
I am.
Well, you did a good job. You can
When
tell
I was,
you can tell he loves it.
I'm 10 years older than Dan, and when I lived in Jackson, and when I would come home to Tupelo, I brought him a little record player about this big from Western Auto, and records, just stacks of records,
thank you.
and it just turned him on to
All
it.
right, you lived in Jackson, Tennessee,
Mississippi.
Mississippi. Well, I've had fun. I hope you all did.
Thank you very
I hope
much.
it turns out
I
okay.
know you're tired. Thank you again. And